Welcome to Am I the Bleep?
I'm glad that I clicked recording after you said let's get her.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for also bringing it up after the recording started so that I couldn't let that shame go into the night. I had to relive it instantly.
I simultaneously have your back and don't have your back at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I guess
And
yeah.
isn't that what coaching really is? It's
Well, half of it.
literally half of it, yes.
Yeah, like the part where we have your back, not the part where we simultaneously don't have your back.
Don't have your back.
I'd hope.
Yeah, probably. Actually thinking about that, Margaret's got me watching Ted Lasso. Have you ever watched Ted Lasso?
No, but my parents love that show, and actually now that Netflix is stopping password sharing, I might subscribe to a new show that's not Netflix.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's basically a Southern coach for American football who gets brought over to coach soccer or football and
or real football as they say.
Real I wasn't gonna say that because I'm sure most of the people who will be listening to that may take umbrage as opposed to although maybe
just
most of our listeners are yeah, you know what, fuck it, it's
there you go,
it is but real football for the boys, for the lads, and he's such a very positive influence on that show, but he's also a person, and all I could think of was that you, Jonathan Friedman, are the Canadian Ted Lasso.
He has a better mustache though.
Yeah, well, you have mustache plus beard, so I think you're more powerful according to the rules of the Lord of the Rings.
My girlfriend Cassandra came up to me recently, a few weeks ago. So my mustache was longer. I didn't trim it, and then she literally looked at me and she's like, "You speak for the trees." And I'm like, "You think I'm the fucking Lorax?" She didn't go to the play. She doesn't even know. She just knows that there's like this hairy character that exists in the world, and she's like, "Well, that's who I'm with. It's the Lorax."
Jonathan, do you think the Lorax is a play?
It is a play.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I saw the Lorax in theater.
In theaters, you mean the movie?
No, I mean in theater. I saw it as a play with my grandmother.
What?
Mima was like, "Hey kids, who wants to go see the Lorax with me?" And I literally fought my siblings to go see the Lorax with her. There was a guy, and I kid you not, in a suit that was orange with the big mustache with eyes like a hole cut out for his head, and it was a musical. How do you of all people not know this?
Well, I know
I'm
about.
angry. It's Sunday.
I know about.
Angry.
Wait. I know there's Seussical the musical. I know that's a thing. But is that what you went to see? Did you go see Seussical?
No, it was the Lorax.
It was just the Lorax.
There was literally a 5-minute bit on the need for Thneed. It's like,
what are the bears called?
I don't remember, man.
It's like Huff, Buggle. I don't remember. But
if I'm gonna be honest, I had a couple drinks before because I was hanging out with friends. Then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go to see the Lorax with Mima, and then I just saw like so many colors and so many reasons to save the trees, and so many reasons we did.
This is when you were 27 years old.
I kid you not. Yes, this was right before COVID.
Oh like, my god, I was joking.
We were at Friday night dinner at Sabbath. And all of my siblings were there, and not as of recent, but before, my grandmother had, since my grandfather passed away, she still kept her like Mervish subscription, so she'd go to 6 or 7 plays. So each of the grandkids would go with her in an alternate fashion. And most of the plays I had seen with her, one was really, really heavy. Somehow it was about a city planner who needed to do things differently. And then I saw the Newsies with her. And then at this Friday, she's like, "Who wants to see the Lorax?" And I'm like, "There's nobody who's better suited to take you to this play than me. I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees." I can't believe you don't know about this.
I would pay $1 million human dollars to go see the audition tapes for the Lorax, because that means every actor had to like look within their heart and be like, am I Lorax shaped? Because that is a shape, right? That is that is a chode of a man. And
come on, man. I'm not even editing that out. No.
Sorry.
No.
He is a teapot of a man. How about that? That feels nicer.
No,
He's a
keep going.
teapot of a man. He's a teapot of a man. And I want to see who felt like which Danny DeVito looking men auditioned. Oh man. Hey, listen, and I mean this sincerely. If you are Lorax shaped, I want you to know that not only is there a room for you in the theater, there should be. Everyone is welcome in the theater, and you are welcome in the theater. But man, is that a tough conversation to have with yourself. I feel very
I love
proud.
how in your world you don't like, you just assume there's no such thing as costumes. There's no Lorax suit that you can wear. You're just like, no, you have to look like the Lorax.
No, because they're thinking to themselves like, yeah, obviously we're putting a costume on this person, but we don't want like a mascot on stage. We want someone who like is mobile. He has to sing and dance. So you don't want the prosthetics to be so much that you can't move, right? Even in Shrek, like they tried to design it so that it wasn't so cumbersome. So they got like a guy who had like at least like I think broad shoulders.
No shoulder pads for Shrek.
No shoulder pads for Shrek. Exactly. That would be. Can we name the episodes? Because that's a really good name for an episode.
No shoulder pads for Shrek. We can
no shoulder pads for.
I've just been calling them "Am I the asshole for doing this?" But I mean, we could go rogue and try that.
That's too descriptive, and then you have to pick one of the three. I think we should start naming the episodes, and they're going to be really stupid names.
All right, remind me. But this episode's officially called "Shoulder Pads for Shrek."
We're gonna have to write that down. No shoulder pads.
No, I just need to go back to the audition tape for a sec because you're digging holes today, and it cracks me up. But for me, the thing that I thought about when I saw the Lorax in terms of who would be a good fit for Lorax, or really any of those characters, would be who can smile, but like a straight face smile at the same time as saying I have the need for Thneed, and also have the ability to repeatedly say I have the need for Thneed. Like try saying that 10 times, Sass. Nobody can. The need for Thneed. Also
that's probably what ends up happening
also
in rehearsal.
Yeah, I have a lisp, and like I would like just that's no. That's not available. Not available. The need for Thneed. Shoulder pads for Shrek.
Real talk. What would you do for a Thneed? Do you want a Thneed? I think I would want a Thneed.
You could do so many things with it.
Didn't it have like 100 uses or something like that?
1,000. Like there's a whole 6-minute song again in the musical where they just keep going about all the different uses. It's basically like an infinity scarf with more cartoon use than an infinity scarf would have. Like you can use it as like a lasso, like Ted Lasso, as opposed to just like a scarf or a headband or things like that, which is pretty cool.
I recall they didn't actually need to tear down the trees to make Thneed. It was like the leaves or something, wasn't it?
Also, it's wild to me that in this universe where one scarf-like thing that can be 1,000 things, they weren't able to think of a way to also like, let's save the trees and also make Thneeds. Like it's a cartoon universe. You could we talk about this a lot in coaching, actually. Here's a good parallel. Okay. Where it's like, write in your journal, like what your ideal world is, and you can have anything you want. Anything. Yeah. And people often like put all these limitations, like, what's your dream job? And like, how would you get that job? And they're like, oh, like my experience as like a youth worker would put me well to be like, a coach or a counselor. And it's like, no, you could literally be anything. You could be the president of Fruit Town, and you could like have watermelons come up to you dancing, being like, hello there, Mr. Jonathan. I have delicious watermelon for you. And that could be the greatest job in the world. That could be your ideal world. And in a musical, especially like a cartoon musical, a Dr. Seuss cartoon musical, there are Thneeds. There are colorful, huge mustache, little things that run around, and you're like, no, 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 we still got to cut down the trees, and that's a terrible thing. Dr. Seuss, you're a terrible person.
I like the idea that every time you ask someone what their most ideal job scenario would be, and they're like, maybe I would be an acupuncturist. You slowly deflate as you realize that this is not the time someone's going to talk about Fruit Town, and you were really hoping every single time that Fruit Town would come up and that they would be the mayor or the president.
Yeah.
It's a limitation on coaching, is that you can't influence what they want, because I think if you could, you would absolutely bring up Fruit Town every single time you coach.
Yeah, you can have anything you want. No, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. No, take over Fruit Town. I passed the strawberry brooch to you, my friend. And with that, it's time
Right.
to enter our
I'll
first.
accept it, and we time to do our dang job.
It's time to do our dang job. Speaking of coaching, time to segue into our very first post of the day, which I'll read because I think you read last time, and I love sharing. So, we'll do this one. Will I be the asshole? WIBTA. Will I be the asshole for not wanting a woman I used to bully at my wedding? I wasn't a great person in high school. My friends and I had our own little clique, and we weren't nice to some of our classmates. I tried going to college, but it wasn't for me. I got a job at a car dealership and eventually started selling cars. I'm pretty good at it, so I make a good living. My younger brother did great in university, and he has a pretty good future ahead of him. After he graduated, he started working in the city, and there's a club there for graduates from his university. He ran into a girl that I wasn't very nice to in high school. She's a couple of years older than him, but they started dating. I don't think she realized he was my brother. He likes that they grew up in the same town. They are at the meeting the family stage, and he brought her home for Christmas. My parents had sold their home after we all moved out, so they didn't live in the same town anymore. She recognized me right away. I didn't recognize her. I guess she got past the ugly duckling part of growing up. She's very physically attractive. She is also doing well in life. She didn't say anything until I approached her after dinner. She asked if I honestly couldn't remember her. I didn't, until she reminded me of the stuff I used to do to her. I felt sick to my stomach. I immediately apologized for everything and said I had been an asshole kid and that I had grown up since then. She said that she was glad and that she accepted my apology. I sent out my wedding invitations recently, and my brother RSVP'd with his plus one. I asked him who he was bringing. He said that he was bringing his girlfriend, the girl from Christmas, so I guess she never mentioned me. I kind of want to ask him not to bring her. A lot of my old friends will be at the wedding, and I don't want anything to happen. She forgave me, but I still think it is kind of shady that she never brought up our past to my brother. Would it be an asshole move if I asked him not to bring her to my wedding? Jonathan Ramathan. Like, what are your initial thoughts? Like, what sticks out to you here? Also, it's important. Usually, the post starts off with "Am I the asshole?" which means something has happened. In this case, we have a "Will I be the asshole?" So this has not happened. You could literally change the trajectory of time, with what you're about to say, and you're going to talk first about it. So,
first of all, everything I say changes the trajectory of time. That's how time works. Yeah. But
you're right.
Isn't bullying such a curious thing, because it's like, it's bad for both parties. And I think that's something that wasn't really explained to us as kids. You know, we were told not to bully because bullying is bad for people being bullied. But I don't think that's a very compelling argument to a bully, for obvious reasons. But bullying, other than you know, making everyone kind of not like you over time, is scarring. It's scarring. It leaves a mark on you, and this person is showing that in a pretty one-to-one fashion. because they went from not remembering this person at all to feeling so much guilt that it has clouded their ability to um, act on their apology and lean into it, right? Because the obvious next step is to encourage your friends to also take this opportunity to go up to this person and make amends, right? Like, this is a clear example of growing up and realizing you've done wrong to someone, and to turn it into an opportunity to wrong them again is that's pretty spectacular. But I think it's also one of those things that trauma does to people, is they're just like, well, this is the only way I know how to deal with this, so I'm just gonna do it again. No, don't bully this person a second time. Are
Especially
they the
after apologizing to them?
Yeah,
right?
seriously, like, will they be the asshole this time? It goes from being like, yeah, you're a 5 because you're in high school and that's not cool, but it's also like you're a kid and you don't have to explain that away by being a kid, but you can, explain the context of why you did it. Now it's like, yeah, this is an asshole thing to do. This is because either you didn't mean the apology, or you don't know how to handle grace. I think I could leave it there. You just don't know how to handle grace if you can't.
But what number, John? What number?
Oh God!
Enough of this like willy-nilly bullshit. Say what is on your mind.
It brings you up. It brings you up to like a 6.5, 7
Oh.
once you do this kind of intentional I don't want to say harm, because at the end of the day, like, it won't really matter to not invite this person to your wedding. It's just going to be a poor reflection. Excuse me. It's going to be a poor reflection on you, and it's also going to lessen your day for your brother, probably, and that's not great either. So I would say, yeah, 6.5 to a 7. What do you think, Jonathan?
I'm gonna go a little.
Talking a lot.
Usually, I feel like you're a bit harsher than I am. Here,
Yeah.
this is an 8.
Not Whoa.
Even. Yeah. And the reason is there's no physical.
A reminder. A 10 is purposeful vehicular manslaughter, we decided. So go on. Explain to me why it's an 8.
Yeah, on the scale of assholery. So
yeah, tell me more.
So I agree with all of your reasoning. This person was a bully in high school. And when you meet somebody who you were mean to later on, even without the context of like the high school bully and that whole trope, you have the opportunity to say like, yeah, like, I'm sorry, like, that was a bad thing. And that's what this person did. I'm sorry for everything bad that I did then. And also, I want to point out, this person is dating her brother. There's a wedding. They've met the family. This is somebody who's going to be in their life for a long time. And then rather than just making amends and like taking the apology and moving things on, she's like, no. I'm a bully again. I'm going to try and leave this person out and also make my brother's life more difficult. To me, that's like, you're still doing the same thing. You haven't done the work. But also beyond that, when they first met, the bullied and the bully at Christmas, she's the only thing she noticed were not like, oh, like, cool, she does well now. It's like, no, now they're physically attractive. Before, I had the right to make fun of them. And even in this post, used the term ugly duckling, and then was like, no, now they're physically attractive. Now I have to make amends, and then later on apologize. I think like this is a person who's self-aware, and I think if coached on it, could probably do some good work about moving forward and having healthy communication patterns.
Absolutely.
But especially in this moment where it's like, will I be the asshole? Yeah, don't do that. Don't be don't bully after apologizing for bullying and be like exclusive. Now, the only thing I will say that my opinion doesn't factor in this case is it could be that the original poster does not want to invite the girlfriend because a lot of the old friends will be at the wedding and she's worried about like a traumatic incident happening at her wedding. And that could be part of the thing too. That would be the only question I have left unanswered that I'd want to sort of say like how do you think your friends will respond? But yeah, don't do that, man. That's bad news.
And also, this is like a good litmus test that if you feel like your friends would respond to someone the same
Yeah,
way that they would
good point.
in high school, that's in your we don't know how old they are, but long enough that this person could be kind enough to not bring up the bullying to your brother, and for some reason you consider that shady. Like there's there's no there's no remedy for there's no better remedy for people being unkind than kindness. And I think that your job now is to be as kind as you can to this person that you bullied, and maybe have a conversation with them about what it is that they would want you to do instead of just assuming. I think that maybe this girl is someone you should be friends with because she did you a total solid by not bringing it up to your brother and trying to create drama there, and maybe evaluate why you think your friends would bully someone at your wedding.
Yeah.
That's a very good that's a question. Or maybe you just think it'll re-traumatize them, in which case, okay, just have a conversation with this girl, with your brother's girlfriend, and see how she feels about it. Don't preemptively try to snub her from a wedding. That's a weird take, but we respect weird takes on this show. We just try to correct them when they're
Yeah,
harmful.
and again, in this case is a will I be the asshole? Yes, 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 you will. Like, don't do that. Um, absolutely. And one other piece here too is this whole idea of she thinks that the girlfriend lied to the brother for not bringing it up. It's not lying. That's just like trying to have a positive relationship with the family. Like the thinking here is very distorted in my opinion, and that needs some correction. So yes, you're right. It's not vehicular
Yeah,
manslaughter, but there's problems brewing.
I agree with that. I agree
Yeah.
with that. Speaking of real problems, how about I read another post?
I like to say, speaking of real problems, what about, and then, like this guy. No, no, go ahead. Enough of that bit.
Am I the asshole, Jonathan, for bringing an emotional support animal to a funeral despite my daughter's wishes? I am a 38-year-old male. My daughter, Isa, fake name, is I'm not saying that Isa is generally a fake name. They specified it's a fake name. Is a 17-year-old
Good
girl.
clarification.
Thank you. My stepdaughter, Ava, also fake name, is 9 years old. Isa's stepfather recently died. Okay, Isa's the daughter, right? Isa's stepfather recently died. I felt terrible because I knew while they weren't super close, he'd been in her life since she was 5. So I knew it must have hit her hard. My family was also invited to the funeral. The issue is, however, is Ava has horrible social anxiety. She's homeschooled because of it and has difficulty going to social outings. I'm going to try that again. She's homeschooled because of it and has difficulty going to social outings. She's in therapy and has an emotional support rabbit named Luna. Since this funeral would be pretty crowded, we decided to let Ava bring Luna to the funeral. Isa had a problem with that. Isa quickly told me she didn't think it was a good idea. Pets were not allowed at this particular cemetery. I told her this was a rabbit, what harm could it do? And Ava had a medical reason for bringing her rabbit. She then looked it up on Google and showed me only service animals were allowed to come. I told her I'd bring Luna, and if an issue arose, we'd leave. She begged me not to, saying her stepdad's death was already hard enough on her mom, and she didn't want any drama to make it worse. I told her I'd think about it and keep that in mind. The thing is, Ava needs her emotional support pet. She wouldn't make it through the funeral if she didn't. She also really wanted Ava there, so what else could we do? So I guess Isa really wants Ava there. So what else could we do? Isa drove to the funeral with her mom, while my family and I drove together. We brought Luna. Isa and her mom were waiting for us at the entrance when we got out. When Isa saw Luna, she freaked out and started yelling that she told me not to bring her. I explained Ava's needs, and she then screamed that Ava should have just stayed home then and caused Ava to cry. I felt bad because I know she was already dreading the social interaction, so hearing her sister say that must have hurt her badly. My wife and Isa got into it after that. Not so kind words were spoken by either party. Her mom took Isa's side and told us to leave. I agreed, and we went home. Isa has been giving me the cold shoulder, but I don't know how else I could have handled this differently. Am I the asshole? Hmm. Hmm. I'm glad I don't have to start. Hey, Jonathan, what do you think? who's wrong? Who's right? You decide.
I think nobody's right or wrong in this case. I think this is a complex situation. So I think um, bringing an emotional support piece to a funeral is, I mean, like, I get that funerals are really dark times, and especially if you have social anxiety as a child, being around a lot of people who are sad, crying, hugging, all of that stuff can be really, really intense. Having, that support piece there with you, I think, is really an important thing. And I think it's really cool actually that the parent is open to that whole concept, because I feel like a lot of parents, it's like, you need to carry your little rabbit around to feel better. So I think that's a good thing that this parent is doing. However, um, Isa's stepfather passed away. That's a big situation, and she doesn't want the rabbit at the funeral. My question is, was there a way where Ava, like, even though Isa wanted Ava there, was there a way to make sort of an accessible choice to have Ava there with Isa at a separate time, not in this big crowded space? Were there other options where it could have worked, where Ava could have been included without having been at the funeral per se, if they didn't want the rabbit there, if that was sort of a sticking point? Often with things like this, there's a lot more time to sort of deal with the issue, but a funeral often happens really close to a person's death and tensions are high. So there might have been only, a maximum of a week to sort of deal with this back and forth. So in this case, I wouldn't have, picked that battle. I would have sort of created an accessible way where Ava could have spent time with Isa after the funeral or something like that. Do I think the original poster is an asshole for bringing this support animal? I mean, it's just a tricky situation. Like, they want Ava to come. Ava requires the rabbit. You're just not gonna win. I think the only asshole piece that I really see, and again, this is the first time we're reading this. This is not us like having had hours of um, time to really go over it. But for me, on first glance, I think that um, picking the battle at the funeral, where it's like, like Ava requires her rabbit. If it was time to go, we could have just like sort of made a swift exit and sort of reconnected later. That might have been the better way to go about it. I'd put it at like a 2 or 3. I don't see it as like a superb asshole kind of thing. And these situations are often tricky. Managing people's needs while also managing somebody else's opposite needs together in a family situation. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna land with it. John, what do you think?
So I think it's actually worthwhile maybe to have a discussion on like social on support animals here. because it I think there's a wide range of reactions that people have to support animals, both the very traditional kind and the kind of newer social support animals where um I think there's the type of person who will like pet a guide dog, even though the dog has a thing on it that says "Don't pet me, I'm working." And then then there's most people who will respect like this dog is doing a service that is enhancing this blind person's ability to navigate the world in a very meaningful way. There are dogs that predict low blood sugar that help prevent people from having hypoglycemic episodes.
Epilepsy too.
There are epilepsy. There are animals that allow you to enter into the world despite otherwise crippling anxiety. And I say that all in the same breath because it's basically taking someone's with different abilities and letting them participate in the world that we have for that is kind of this one size fits all world that we all have to navigate. And so I think that the attitude that is being given this little girl and her service animal is a bit unfair. That being said, I think there's also room to understand that grief isn't really a whole fairness kind of scenario. It's more of a
For sure.
I need this right now because I'm going through a very tough time and I don't know how to handle whatever it is you need right now. I can only meet my own needs. And I'm sure I'm almost I feel a very real certainty that the 17-year-old is going to feel not great about making a 9-year-old cry. Most people don't feel good about making 9-year-olds cry, but I also think that this didn't happen because someone was being an asshole. I think this was happening because different people needed conflicting things at the same time. And two needs couldn't be met at the same time, so it was truly a lose-lose situation. And the best you could do is mitigate the damage done to one of the parties, as in maybe I agree with your solution, like maybe have a more a less public time for this little girl to console her sister, and thereby mitigate some of the social anxiety. But I also understand that it's not always that simple, and I don't think anyone's being an asshole here. I think that um though this action doesn't make the 17-year-old an asshole, it does create something that she's going to have to own up to later on when she's done grieving, which is while she was grieving, she said some pretty harsh words to a child, and made her feel bad and put her through something that is probably pretty specifically devastating to her. And I think that you'll have to try to make amends there, and it'll be up to this little girl to decide if she forgives her sister. But I don't think the father specifically did anything all that wrong. It's a tough situation. You didn't come out smelling like roses, but I don't really see a scenario where you would have anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This is a situation where if you think about it too, I've been to so many funerals where families definitely have young children who
Mhm.
don't show up at the funeral, or they
Yeah.
go to the funeral but not the cemetery,
Yeah.
or they just show up at the house after for like that family time. And there's a lot of ways to make those sorts of scenarios work. I mean, also like huge kudos to the family for like trying to make all of that work. But yeah, I agree. This was not a simple solution. But the only reason I gave it any number at all is because
Oh, I didn't give
there
a
ha-
number, did I? Yeah, one. One. Sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the only reason I gave it any number like a two is because they're at a funeral. There are all of these emotions going on, and then they chose to pick the battle of, but we need the rabbit here if we're gonna stay. And at the point, you just say you cut your losses and then reconvene later to have that discussion. So it's not like an asshole. It's just like there's a moderately better way to handle it, but not that in that moment you would have thought of that because tensions are high anyways.
Yeah,
That was a
and
big sentence.
Yeah, it was. I empathize so much with the it'll work out
Yeah.
kind of mentality. Like let's just go. Maybe
Yeah,
they won't.
you would.
Like who gives a flip? But no, don't do that at a funeral. Don't try to hash things out at a funeral. That seems like solid wisdom.
It's never gonna work.
It's never ever going to work, and even if it does, it won't. So don't do it.
It's funny. A lot of these "Am I the asshole?" threads. There's actually few funeral ones, but it always seems like there's conflicting opinions at a big family event, and everybody thinks that's the perfect, like a wedding, Christmas. Haven't seen them in all this time, but now we need to hash things out. And it's not that that's bad. Communicating is an important and good thing, especially if you have deep feelings about things. But it's important to pick your battles for a time and place where that communication is going to be successful. If you're at a wedding, like at the actual wedding or the day before the wedding, bringing up deep-seated issues about you and that person, it's not going to be a positive discussion.
Yeah.
Go through it, wait a week, and then have it after. It'll be a much more positive conversation, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because I often take advantage of this part of our brains. So with my ADHD, it's very much out of sight, out of mind. So I'll usually put things in my path to confront me visually with them existing in my way that I have to deal with them. And so I think that same part of our brain happens in like a family gathering where someone's right in front of you and they're in your like maybe your physical path or metaphorically in your path to getting through this Christmas dinner or whatever, and you feel like you must confront them in order to get past. But sometimes the best way to deal with something is to be proactive and saying, I know I have problems with this person. I'm either going to address it before the event, or if I don't feel like a resolution would occur from that, I am going to do my best to acknowledge that they exist and keep coasting onwards through my Christmas dinner, because sometimes you just can't try to solve everything. And that's good coaching advice. That's good life advice. Don't try to solve everything. Some things are actually unsolvable or not solvable yet, and you have to be willing to accept and honor that.
Yeah, and I think too, it's a really good exercise ahead of time. Like, try it out for yourself. If you're coming up to a big event, take out your journal, talk to somebody, and say, like, literally role play it or imagine how the conversation will go. You're sitting down at Christmas dinner, or you're at the funeral, and you know that at some point the conversation about the rabbit is going to happen. What's going to be said? Who's going to be around? How are you going to be able to react to that? And be honest. In this case, they probably would have found that actually they got away pretty easy. It could have been that Ava would have had a meltdown because the rabbit got taken away. It could have been that the older sister could have lashed out and like taken the rabbit, and it could have been a whole thing. And if you do that work ahead of time, and not saying like, again, like they did the best they could, but you'll find you're able to actually find a scenario that like if I do it this way, it's not going to be good. I'm not okay with that possibility. Let's do it this way instead. Journal is a great place to do that. Talking to somebody is a great way to do that. Highly recommend. With that, I highly recommend we move.
I highly recommend. Dang it! Oh no, I was waiting to do that too. You beat me to it. I highly recommend it. I agree with your recommendation. How about that?
I saw you take a sip of coffee, and I'm like, I have to beat him to this one. He's going to be too fast with his caffeinated words.
So angry. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Am I the asshole for not allowing my girlfriend's sister to sleep at my house? I, a 26-year-old male, have been with my girlfriend for a bit over 2 years. We live separately, but she's been spending most days at my house. I eventually gave her a key to my place. I'll come from home from work, and most of the time she'll be there. She basically lives there, has a lot of her belongings there, showers, sleeps there, etc. She has four sisters, two younger, her twin, and her older sister. Her older sister has a 2-year-old daughter and is a single mom. My girlfriend has been asking if her sister could come to my house to hang out. I have no problem with it, so I say sure. Here's the problem. I got home Thursday. When I got inside, my girlfriend was with her niece. I greet my girlfriend and niece. When I start walking to my bedroom, my girlfriend tells me she set out clothes for me in my gaming room. I ask why, and she says that her sister is taking a nap in my bedroom. I'm taken aback by this and say, no, yeah, she can't do that. My girlfriend asks what I mean. I tell my girlfriend that not only is it rude to sleep in other people's beds, but this is also my house, so I won't be quiet either. My girlfriend explains that her sister is burnt out and needs a break. I told her that's fine, I told her that that's fine and everything, but she can't be sleeping in my room on my bed. That my house isn't a hotel. I could sense my girlfriend getting angry. She's one of those types that's a silent angry. She simply gets up and tells her sister to get up. They gather their stuff and she leaves with her. She calls me back saying that since my house isn't a hotel, she won't be staying with me anymore. She tells me that her sister seriously needed a break and I couldn't help her. She hangs up before I can say anything. I have mixed feelings about this whole thing, but I feel I could have handled it better. Am I the asshole? John Rom,
We
are they the
stand.
asshole?
We stand a person who gets to the end of a conflict and says, I could have gone better. Oh man, that's wonderful.
It's a good reflection.
Good reflection. Hey, listen, it's better now than 10 years from now.
Or at a funeral. Too soon?
Yeah, that way too soon. Always too soon. Forever too soon. Okay. Let's start with the rating. I think this is a 4 out of 10. And I'll explain why. So let's start with positive intention. Positive intent. I think this person is not trying to be mean or rude. I think they're trying to hold on to something that I think we all recognize, which is you want a place that is your own. Everyone wants a space, and especially after work. Oh my God, after work, all you want is the space that makes you feel that gets the work stink off of you, you know? Like you want to switch into your comfort clothes, you want to go relax, you want to do something fun, you want to do something quiet, whatever it is that speaks to you, you want to do. And anything that disrupts that, it's not just like a disruption in the way that like a loud noise outside your house is annoying. It's a very invasive type of disruption that makes you feel like you are being a part of you is being taken away. And I know that sounds dramatic, but if it happens to you enough, you start to feel like nowhere is the space that you can call your own, and that's very dangerous. I feel like having no place that resonates with you to calm you down, to bring you back to center, is very troubling. And so I understand the intensity of this reaction. However, I feel like there is a way to make people understand your feelings without turning it into a confrontation where you act as if the person was trying to do you harm, right? Because we all get defensive in a situation where we feel like people are trying to do us harm, but we understand that there's a different thing called a misunderstanding where someone is doing the wrong thing because they don't get it, but you're not mad at them. You're just like, no, you don't understand what I was hoping for, and so let me try to explain it. And you can explain it differently than trying to chew out your girlfriend's sister, and consequently your girlfriend.
Yeah, this was a bit of like a button pushing scenario in a way.
Yeah. Someone got their buttons pushed, and so they pushed back. And I think though that is understandable, I think there is a better way to do it. And so I will say that it is 4 out of 10 behavior, because the reasoning is not completely faulty. It's just that the way it was handled was pretty unfortunate. Because if someone, because here's I'll give you another scenario that's very similar.
Do it up.
I have a daughter, and I'm exhausted, and I go to sleep on my sister's boyfriend's bed, and he wakes me, and he sends in my sister to wake me up because can't be sleeping on his bed. All I would think in the moments after being woken up is like, jail for 1,000 years, because how dare you? Oh, I needed the sleep. Like, when you sleep, in that kind of sleep, you need it, right?
Yeah.
It's like your kid has exhausted you. You need that sleep. So it is almost unforgivable. But the boyfriend, we understand, isn't trying to do harm to this girlfriend's sister. He's just trying to get his space back. And so if the sister took a moment and said, I understand why you wanted this, and I won't do it in the future, but the way you handled this has made my day significantly worse. And I don't know if that was your intention, but you did. Anyway, go ahead, Jonathan. What do you think? Maybe I'm way off base here. Maybe
No.
maybe the boyfriend's completely right. And
For once, you're not way off base. For once.
yes,
First time.
We got there. It only took 30 years, but we got there.
Yeah, when you brought up jail, I almost shouted out undercooked, overcooked, like that whole Fred Armisen from Parks and Rec. It's like they do this, jail. They do this. You overcook eggs, jail. You undercook eggs, also jail. Undercook, overcook. Kills me every time. So I think this brings up a good discussion about moving in with a partner. And this is something I'm well versed in. And essentially, there's this negotiation that happens because two very different people have fallen in love at random points during the week. You know, you go on dates, you're like, wow, I like this person. You spend more time, you meet their family, you're gathering evidence that everything is going to be great. And then you decide, okay, you know what? All this evidence is so great that it's time we take that next step and spend a lot more time together. What we don't often realize is, as you mentioned, home is a safe space where you get to do whatever the hell you want because it's home. You need to get all of the stuff out, especially after work, especially after stressful times. And two people do that very differently. And when you move in, there's about a good, I'll say as much as a year or a half year where there's that constant negotiation of, and not like literally negotiating, like you sit down at a table with your hands crossed and it's like, well, what do you need? Although that's a good conversation to have. That's what I do. But there are days when you think like, oh yeah, like the same thing that happened yesterday is going to happen today, and something completely new happens, and that's uncharted territory for the relationship. In this case, having the sister over, who really needed that sleep. But for the original poster, that bed, that's untouchable. Like in my home, Cassandra, my girlfriend, knows that my guitars are not up for, like, they're where they are. If she needs to move them, we can have a discussion about where to move them, but she can't touch them. My handmade guitar that I built when I was 20, Luna, nobody touches Luna. It's in like the safest possible case. If you need to move it, and that's just, it's a weird thing that I have. Like, maybe I shouldn't be so hostile about that. I mean, I try not to be hostile in general, but she knows that that's what I need to feel safe in my home. My stuff, especially my stress relieving stuff, is where it is, so on and so forth. At the same time, I work from home a lot, and Cassandra works in a kitchen. And she comes home stressed out all the time because, like, it's very physical. She has some chronic pain. I know that when she gets home, and I didn't know this at the beginning, because for me, I'm more clingy. I'm like, oh, girlfriend's home. Like, let's be cuddly. But she needs her space so that she can cool down after a long day of lifting 50-kilogram bags of flour and doing all of that work. over time, she realizes, like we realize that, okay, she comes home. Hey, how's it going? I'll keep playing video games. We do our check in later and we can sort of warm up near the end of the evening. And at 2 years, having just started spending more time together, there's a lot of time where that negotiation is going to happen. And I would use this as this experience as a time to really open up that conversation. Hey, it really bothered me when your sister was in my bed. I have no problem with her sleeping at the house. She must be so tired. But it really bothers me when people sleep in my bed without permission. That's a great thing to do. But here there was that shut out of family, shut out of like tired person who has a daughter. And that's not okay. So I agree with your four. Like this could have been handled much, much better. This was like a total shutdown. But I think it's a really good opportunity, especially original posters talking about having mixed feelings about this whole thing. They realized they could have handled it better. Um, yeah, like have that conversation. Talk about what you both need to feel safe at home.
Yeah, and if anyone's wondering like what in the moment this could have been, I think we get a hint that the poster has a certain intuition because
For sure.
he can sense his girlfriend getting angry. Well, the what goes with that is, could you sense yourself getting angry? Because if you sense yourself getting angry, then there's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to feel angry, but ask yourself, why specifically am I angry? Like, what about this angers me? Why is this making me feel intense emotions? Not just like, why am I uncomfortable with this? We understand why you're uncomfortable with it, but why is it yielding such like heat? Why is it such a spicy pepper? So the ability to stop and ask yourself, why does this so deeply upset me? Once you come up with that answer, that's what you can communicate. You can be like, it's not that I have a problem with this, it's that it specifically bothers me that yada yada yada. That's a good conversation to have because it's
For sure.
vulnerable, it's showing your jugular a little, but it's also, it's respecting the fact that you feel anger and then doing something positive with it, not just leaning into it and deciding, that the best way you're going to deal with it is like Homer Simpson. It's not productive. It didn't yield the exact result you wanted. It got her out of the bed, but it also got your girlfriend out of your house, and it created a fight. And I think that's what the understanding is at the end of the post, is that like, I could have handled it better because a lot of extra stuff happened other than the thing that I wanted. And I think that's a point of realization. So that's how you gain wisdom. And hey, listen, let's give credit where credit is due. As 26 years old, understanding that you could have handled it better,
Way
it's a
to
good
go.
first step. Yeah, listen, a 26-year-old a dude in my experience is it's a special beast that it could have gone a lot worse. So
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
like as my stepmom says, like it's this question: what do you want from your relationship in this case? And then you look at your behavior and think about it like metacognition. Think about the way you're thinking. Will this behavior get me closer to what I want? If you want a warm, loving relationship with your girlfriend, will kicking the burnt out sister out of the bed lead us to a closer relationship?
Yeah.
Probably not. Now, you can be pissed about it, you can be angry, but if you wait 2 hours till the girlfriend wakes up and leaves and goes back home and you just have your house with your girlfriend again, you can then have a conversation and say, hey, should we get a futon? That way, when your sister is tired and burnt out, she can sleep in the futon because I really don't like when people sleep in my bed. That would
Mm.
have been an awesome conversation. That would have been perfection. Again, not the asshole because you're angry, asshole because there's a better way to do it. And way to go for being 26 and thinking you can be better,
Yeah, and
knowing you
and
can be better.
yeah, and like, no, sorry to quote Ted Lasso, but since you it's what a wonderful thing that since you couldn't control your emotions, you decided to let your emotions control you. He said it sarcastically. Like that is really the epitome here, is that you felt anger and you decided to just let it run. And I think that's an asshole thing to do. It's a 4 out of 10. Did you give a number, by the way?
Yeah, I agreed with your 4.
Oh, you agree? Okay, 4. Wow, we got a 4. 4 equals 4.
Yeah,
good to know.
It's like an 8 out of 20 or something like that too, right? And I had a good. It's gone.
It's gone. Well, what the end of this show equals
Oh,
is
no.
a bunch of plugs and also a great quote. So
Oh no.
you go ahead and tell them where they can find.
I got way too cocky. I stole your transition before. I did 2 really good ones at the beginning, and now I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm tired. Maybe I can sleep in their bed too. Take a break.
Absolutely. Yeah. Apparently, it's like the comfiest bed around.
Must be. It's that Drake $300,000 bed. But if you want comfort for much, much cheaper than $300,000 Drake bed, you should, one, listen to our podcast on all streaming platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, glebe.uk. Where else are we, John?
We're on Pounce.
Come on.
we're on Raptor, but there's no vowel after the T, so it's kind of like Grinder but Raptor. And Shelfari. So shelf and R, so Safari but Shelfari.
Oh, you don't have to pitch it to me. I totally get it.
No, okay, I'm glad you got it, because I didn't get it immediately, and I'm looking at it. So
and in a separate venture, you could open up Safari instead of Shelfari and Chrome. Sure. And check us out at thejournalthattalksback.com, where you can book an intake call with me, Jonathan Friedman, not the other John, to talk about whether or not our coaching is right for you. We match you with your very own coach, and you get to journal with that coach, and your coach will read and respond to each and every single journal within 24 hours. Mm-hmm. It's a coach in your pocket. It's unlimited, and it's only $200 a month for that, which is, I think, stupidly affordable. So definitely go to the Journal That Talks Back, reach out, and we're going to match you with that coach for you. Now, John, I know you've been waiting to say what you've been waiting to say, so speak up, my friend. It's your time to shine.
All right, our quote this week is: "The secret of success is to do the asshole thing uncommonly well."